Hello, everyone, once again. Hearty greetings from Adyar and a very warm welcome to today's session at Pragyasya Studio, which is really going to be an interesting subject to be shared by an equally interesting and inspiring personality whom we know as Sister Angel Torra-Buron. But before we proceed with our program, I request everyone to mute themselves for the time of the talk. And then in the end, we will have a question and answer session during which you can unmute yourself if you want to ask the question directly, or you can put your question in the chat box, which we will take it up during the course of time. And as always, to begin with, I request everyone to come together in heart and mind so as to invoke that immutable principle in which we live and move and have our being. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May all who feel themselves as one with thee know they are therefore one with every other. Welcome back, everyone, once again. And as you are aware, that the subject for today's talk is Theosophy, revolution or evolution. The subject itself is very intriguing because the two aspects of revolution and evolution also in a way imply our approach towards Theosophy and to life. And to share thoughts on this very fascinating subject, we have among us Sister Angels Torra-Buron, who is currently the president of the Theosophical Society in Spain. Sister Angels was born in 1952 in Barcelona, Spain, into a family of Theosophists. She studied philology at university, specializing in French, philology, the branch of knowledge that deals with the structure, historical development, and relationships of a language or languages. And no wonder that she has been a teacher of French and English in secondary schools for 37 years. So we'll get to benefit from that also in today's talk. She joined the Theosophical Society at a very young age of 20 years in 1972. And she has since then actively participated in various activities that have been organized both in Spain and in other countries, first with the youth and later in the section. She has delivered talks in different countries such as France, Italy, Portugal, Mexico, and also for the Inter-American Federation of the Theosophical Society. She has participated as well in a couple of short talks and panel discussions during the International Convention in Adyar and during the online convention. For a few years, she was a member of the executive committee of the European Federation of the Theosophical Society. And in 2013, she was elected the Secretary General of the Theosophical Society section in Spain, a position that she has held since 1st October 2013. Also, she is the Vice President of the International Theosophy Conferences. And recently, we came together recently during the online international convention of the Theosophical Society, and we got to know More about her is that she's one of those untiring souls who was doing translations and interpretations of the talks in Spanish and French so as to benefit more and more fellow members, which shows her commitment, enthusiasm, and energy as a true theosophist. So, without any further ado, I would like to invite Sister Angels to share her thoughts on this very interesting subject, Theosophy, revolution or evolution. Over to you, Sister Angels.
Thank you very much, Brother Sitar. I don't think I deserve all the compliments that you said about me. But anyway, here I am. And first of all, I would like to thank Pragya Studio for inviting me to share with you a few thoughts and reflections on Theosophy. I can contribute nothing new to the great and profound teachings that the founders of the Theosophical Society communicated to humanity at the end of the 19th century. However, to start with, let me say again that it is a great honor for me to be here sharing this day with our friends from all over the world. And let me share my screen. Yeah. So the theme of this talk today is Theosophy, revolution or evolution. I've picked the same, I've copied the same title that some years ago in Italy, in Ascona, they had a meeting and they called this Theosophy, evolution or revolution, which I really loved. And I thought it was a very good thought input. And then this is why I chose the same title. So at the outset, I would like to reflect with you on a number of issues that have come to my attention in preparing this small and very simple contribution to this meeting. Let us first stop and think about what revolution means. A revolution comes from the Latin revolutio, which means a turn, and is a fundamental social change in the power, in the power structure or organization that takes place over a relatively short or long period of time, depending on the structure of the organization. And this is what Wikipedia says. Then we can also think that revolutions are considered the turning point of history, from which most of today's political and social systems start. And then if we go to the dictionary, we find these other definitions: the action and effect of stirring or stir, which means setting in motion, in spirit, commotion, agitate, or a state or occasion of general excitement. Then there is another significance of this word revolution, which is a profound change in the political and socioeconomic structures of a national community, like the first one we said. And then we have another one that says that it's a popular uprising or revolt. But the one that I prefer is the last one, which is a rapid and profound change in anything. Discoveries, both scientific and in unknown lands, always represent a bit of a revolution, because thanks to them, we see new things. We are confronted with new ways of thinking, of acting, and changes occur in all aspects. In every era, there have been various discoveries and breakthroughs. that seemed revolutionary that time. Today, we are also witnessing important breakthroughs and discoveries in our days. Perhaps we could describe our age as the age of the analytical and objective mind. In the world today, there is an unusual activity of the human mind, which is not only focused on constructive purposes, but also has a tense and hectic activity in all senses. This is due to several causes. For example, the ease of contacts between people. For example, the social networking, the increasing knowledge we have of the external world, the constantly accelerated communications, and above all, the pressure of life as it is organized. The impact of news that circulate immediately go viral, and the reactions that go with it. Everything constantly stimulates mental activity, and so the human mind does not get a time out. Compared to other times, when there was no internet, no networks, no mobile phones, when we had to walk everywhere, we could say that life today is anything but placid. Although it is true that in those days, probably, it was also said that life was very fast and that in the old days, it was calmer. Because every time we think that the old days were calmer, were better, and were more peaceful. The tendency is to think that in times gone by, it seems that everything was better because we tend to idealize what we don't know or what we don't remember well. The changes now come from advances in science, which are now so rapid that new discoveries are being made every day. Science, in turn, is becoming increasingly specialized, and research is opening up multiple directions in which to investigate. When we speak of the objective mind, we are referring to the mind that confronts itself with the object it wants to study and understand, the field of its observation, without employing any subjective imagination that has no part in explaining what is happening. Such a mind allows any object to provide all the necessary information. However, the human mind is not sensitive enough to grasp all the tones and nuances that nature as a whole is telling us. Therefore, it has to piece together all the fragments of knowledge it obtains on the basis of hypotheses and assumptions. But today, here, we are surely more interested in exploring the meaning of that revolution that brings about profound changes, not in the everyday social or scientific aspect, but in the innermost part of each human being. Profound inner changes are revolutionary in that they represent an action of turning to take a step toward change and thus to evolve in our inner and spiritual life. I think it is worth seriously considering the aspect of life that is to be spiritually reborn from moment to moment. I believe that in reality, this is already the normal process in everything that is born, grows, and finally dies but only temporarily in nature, because in the end, everything reappears, reproduces itself, and is reborn. Moreover, in the course of existence, on the side of the external forms, on the side of the bodies, nothing ceases to grow continuously. Nothing ceases to develop from the moment it is born until the end of its incarnation. That is to say that in the whole of nature, there is an incessant progressive movement without end. But we are particularly interested in what we are particularly interested in is to consider the life aspect, which is that which develops through and by means of the form aspect, and to see whether that life aspect is in reality a child or product of form, or whether form is always and absolutely a product of a child of life. If we understand this well, if we realize that the form of our body is always a mathematical consequence of our way of living, of our way of thinking, then we will have already taken a very big step in understanding and mastering our existence in order to initiate in our lives, here and now, a spiritual rebirth from instant to instant. And when we say rebirth, we mean a real transformation from the point of view of life. It may be interesting to clarify the terms a little, in the sense that the word life with capital L is equivalent to the word monad or spirit or will or sovereignty or eternity or ceaseless movement, plus absolute peace and immutability. And at the same time, generating, preserving, and destroying fire of all forms. In turn, they will all reappear again in new forms, new bodies, ever more beautiful, ever more perfect, ever more potent. And this from instant to instant, here and now. Let us observe these operations in nature, all of them children and material expressions of this universal life, whose purpose is possibly to awaken us spiritually. This is the purpose of life, as I said, to awaken us spiritually. From the material side, it seems that the forms, the bodies, are subject to a continual wear and tear of energies, producing exhaustion, fatigue, with an absolute need for rest and a constant replenishment and energy. This alone can become a problem, preserving health, I mean. Then there are the forces of nature, cold, heat, winds, gravity, inertia, as well as old age and the death of forms. We have also, in most cases, elemental forces of nature that trigger us, irritate us, intoxicate us, blind us, and plunge us into abysses at the bottom of which we pay with our own heads of our lack of discernment and self-control. But if we look at it all from the point of view of rebirth and spiritual regeneration, it is still a very interesting spectacle. I firmly believe that within the chaos, the temporal and death, there is always an order and an immortal center. Then we have the desires, the apprehensions, the accommodations, the pleasing, which have so much power over the element of the spiritual mind in our lives. The middle ground, the just, the strictly natural and expedient, both for body and soul, is rather difficult to observe, though not impossible. Yet it seems that it is through all these elements and circumstances that we must go to conquer our spiritual nature. It seems that it is best to understand them, not to kill them, and to use them for inner renewal. As if all that is elementary, all that is apprehensive in us, has to be transmuted into the positive and sublime by means of living, feeling, and thinking in order to discover the permanent in us through the transitory and the temporary. We will now address the link between spirit and matter, between the spiritual archetype and the material form, between our future and our present. That center, that link, is the soul, is the mind, on whose knowledge and on whose operations all else depend. At the beginning of our talk, we have deduced that the body, the form, are the children of life, and that they are the mathematical expressions of our living and thinking, that is to say, the operation and vibration of our soul. I feel very persistently that my thinking is continually wrapped up in my desires, and at the same time in my self-interest, that is, in the comfort, in the glorification and well-being of my entity as a person. I would almost go so far as to say that this is the Gordian knot of our spiritual rebirth. Geoffrey Hudson says in one of his books that the soul never tires, never forgets, never grows old, but is consubstantial with the divine essence. And in the process of converting latency into potency, to quality, it never undergoes change of retrogression, and being immortal, it grows, its growth and splendor is boundless. Therefore, spiritual rebirth, spiritual youth seems to be something with a life and nature of its own, completely independent of the vicissitudes of the soul, of the body, of the ears, and even of the elements of a disease, and even of the limitations of the personality. It would seem that everything depends on us building, forming, edifying, and consolidating by our thinking, by our feeling, and by our acting from here and now, a mystical and heavenly garment that will never grow old, that will never cease to grow, and that will serve the soul to express its inherent wisdom, its inherent power and activity, its inherent love. Whatever we do positive in this respect will remain with us forever, for the soul assimilates only the positive of the personality. Let us now turn to two things that might be useful to reflect on. One is that everything that comes out of us, everything that we project outwards, returns to us inexorably and affects us, both for good or for bad, according to the quality, the intensity, and the intention of our mental and emotional waves. Knowing this, experiencing it and acting consciously, constructively, prepares us to become the architects of our future. Therefore, in order to be reborn from moment to moment, certain elegance in the manifestation of our triple energy is of most importance. Secondly, our books say that the heavenly garment proclaimed by St. Paul for the spiritual resurrection can only be built here, in this world, and not from the inner worlds, because when incarnated here, the human being is complete and can bind and loose from here, according to the gospel, all that is gathered in the future hereafter. That is to say, that St. Paul himself ends his epistle to the Corinthians by saying that man must overcome in life the empire of the grave and the sting of death. It is clear that if we put all our efforts into our integral regeneration, nature, for its part, with its usual generosity, will not fail us. I believe that it is healthy and good, even essential, to dream, to idealize, to be always open to the bliss of the life and energy of the eternal, but with full control and awareness of all our thinking, feeling, and acting. And then, whatever we do, whatever we feel, whatever we think, we are already in the process of a spiritual awakening, of a rebirth, of a higher something, that is to say, that we continue to float, to fly, without blurring the vision and the reception of that uncreated potentiality which will ceaselessly renew everything from within. In this world, each one of us lacks something. We lack something, otherwise we would not be here. Some lack health, some lack youth, some lack character, or conscience, or responsibility, or enlightenment, or maturity, etc. But none of these is of much importance if we see clearly the magnificent possibility of being reborn from moment to moment. And if we are able to discover the unexplained laws of nature and the latent powers in man. It is a question of putting the effort, of having a vocation for it, and of having an absolute dedication of oneself. So the Secret Doctrine in volume 2 says the following. Animal consciousness is made up of the consciousness of all the cells of the body, except for the cells of the heart. This organ is the most important and the king of the organs of the body. In the heart, there is a point which is the center of our life. Sorry. That central point is called the seat of the Holy Spirit. And it is the first vital center to function in the fetus and the last to die in the organism when the body dies. This heart center contains in potential the mind, the life, the energy, and the will. What more can we ask for? It is quite possible that all saints, mystics, and yogis derive their holiness, their genius, and their heroism from that center of the heart, the seat of the Holy Spirit. And it is possible that all prayers, meditations, and contemplations, if they are starting from the heart, cannot but set in motion in us the machinery of the Holy Spirit, which moves and sustains the whole universe and all that breathes in it. The secret doctrine also says the following: it is in the holy and untrodden precincts of our hearts that we must place the altar and tabernacle of the cause without cause, but the cause of all causes, which is forever unknowable, invisible, intangible, ineffable, and which cannot be mentioned except by the still and quiet voice of our spiritual consciousness. This is a beautiful piece. Those who worship him must worship him in the silence and sanctified solitude of their souls, making his spirit the only mediator between them and the universal spirit, their good deeds being the only priests and their sinful intentions the only visible and objective victims sacrificed to the presence. Isn't it beautiful? And then Matthew says, "And when thou prayest, enter into thine inner chamber, and when thou hast shut the door, pray to thy Father in secret." This is in Matthew 4:5-6. See how they say the same in other words, but the essence is the same. Our Father is in us in secret and is our seventh principle, the monad, the life, the divine spark, which is in the inner chamber and is perceived by our soul. The kingdom of God and of heaven is within us, says Jesus, and not outside. So we are so used to looking outside ourselves that perhaps it is worth insisting again and again that we must turn our attention inwards. As difficult as it may be to educate the mind, which is so attuned to all that is external, to all that is material, one day in our evolutionary process will come when it will unite with the heart, and then in unison in balance, the two will bring us into direct contact with the fire of the Holy Spirit, with the cosmic motor force located in the center of our heart. Then we will be able to raise our heads and courageously begin to collaborate in the great plan of evolution for all humanity. This is the path that our instructors point out to us, and that by their example, they invite us to follow. Our goal is the same as the one they are already reaching. We have many exemplary figures who have preceded us in the work of the Theosophical Society, and above them are the masters of the Great Brotherhood. In launching it, they were inviting us to go from our world to theirs. In order that we might do so, they wrote these famous letters, from the contents of which came some of the early theosophical works. Madame Blavatsky was a revolutionary in every sense. Remember, revolution, we saw that it's a profound change in everything, or of anything. She did not come to convince us with new creeds, but she brought greatness and freedom to our minds. She came to shake up the mentality of mankind so that a radical change, a revolution, could take place. She was preparing us for the great change of coming to a new continent of thought. She pointed the way to the sublime of life and thought. Her key word was sublimity. She never said that there was a place where evolution stopped or where thought stopped. Let us follow the wise counsel to keep our eyes fixed, upon the summits of existence, and to feed our souls with the grandeur of truth, to keep our eyes ever fixed upon the summits of existence, and feed our souls with the grandeur of truth. He who has the teachers as a living power in his thought will never be locked in a creed, but will judge every new idea that comes into his mind by the power it has to illuminate life. The path to wisdom lies within the human being. The path to wisdom lies within us. The greater the development, the broader the vision, and the deeper the understanding. The path to the universal self is the path that each individual must tread for himself if he wishes to grow, to evolve. No one can grow for us, and we can only grow along the line that nature proposes, the structure of our being. Is that a revolution or evolution? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sister Angels, for such a profound thought, sharing with us and sharing with your insights on this really interesting subject. And really it forced us to think about, although revolution is often attached to the social revolution or changes in the governance pattern or something outside, but as you mentioned, the real revolution is the inner revolution, which is from moment to moment, and which is the profound change, not just a superficial change. So that was a very inspiring and thought-provoking deliberation. Thank you so much for that. And now we are going to request our delegates, if they have any questions or queries that can be taken up, they can raise their hands. We can invite them to ask, or they can put it in the chat box and we can take them up. And the first one that we received in the WhatsApp chat is, as you mentioned, that evolution is something that involves time or duration, and the revolution is something that is instantaneous and from moment to moment. But isn't revolution also a part of evolution, and it comes only at a certain time during the journey of the soul?
Thank you. Well, I agree. I think that revolution is part of the evolution, because one of the first principles, propositions in the secret doctrine says that everything is changed, that life is changed, the universe is changing. Change is one of the factors, one of the fundamental propositions. Therefore, there is no way of escaping change. The only thing is that there are always two choices. Well, I don't know if there are choices, but that's what they say. You have the choice of following, the stream quietly and calmly and with no other concern, but following the stream. Or you have the possibility of making a resolution for applying your willpower to speed it up. Why? Because one can think, okay, why should I bother if eventually I will arrive to the same place? Let's be comfortable and follow whatever. But once we decide to speed it up, it's not for oneself. It's because the sooner we arrive, the sooner we can come back and help the others who are lingering behind, Well, this is how I see it. Everyone can have their own view, but this is my view.
Thank you so much. And actually your answer has given me some insight or some thought about related to the concept of reincarnation. Mm-hmm. Like in some of the religions, there is a concept of reincarnation, that the soul, evolves through incarnation after incarnation. So it may have a tendency for a person to become complacent, that, okay, I will do it in the next birth. But as you said, to speed the things up, if somebody is told, no, this is the only birth that you are going to have, which is going to matter, so maybe then the person does his or her best to make full use of that incarnation. So I don't know, maybe if that was the reason that only one incarnation was, and the theory of it was told or not. But thank you so much, Sister Angels, for that one. And we have Brother Dinakaran. Dinakaranji, would you like to say something? Although you have put in the chat, he is requesting, Sister Angels, if you can share kindly repeat the quotation of Saint Paul to Corinthians that you shared. And thank you for the enlightening talk he's saying.
Okay, let me find it first.
Yeah.
Not Matthew, but St. Paul?
Yes.
Which is before.
Starting
Yeah.
man must be.
Hold on. Hold on. Let me think. Here, this one. Yeah. It is St. Paul.
Overcome in life.
Yeah, because this has to do with this heavenly garment that only can be built here while we're incarnated, right?
Yeah.
Not and then this one here.
Okay. So this was the one, I think, Brother Dinakaran, you were asking for?
Thank you for the quotation. I think it started with man must, something like that. It started like that, man must.
Okay, hold on.
I couldn't take down long sentence.
I don't have them, what is it, numbered. Doctrine.
It's not seen in the screen.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on. Okay. Okay, now I see here. Personality, everything comes out. Yes, this, yeah, it's here. When I say that everything that comes out of us returns to us inexorably, and therefore, in order to be reborn from moment to moment, the manifestation of our triple energies is important, that they have some inner elegance, right? And then I came to these books that say that the heavenly garment proclaimed by St. Paul for the spiritual resurrection can only be built here. So because St. Paul is talking about resurrection, which doesn't mean that the body is coming back. It means that the soul will be reborn in a better, in a glorious state, right? State. And he's saying that for the spiritual resurrection, this vesture of heaven can only be built here. That, to me, it means that we cannot expect to be better after dying or in the other world, because if we are not good here, we will not be good there. If we don't achieve human perfection here, while we are complete in this sense that we have the will, we have the power, we have the body, we have all the elements to really produce this change, this inner change, this revolution inside. It's now that we can produce this. We cannot expect to produce these changes in another state except for the one incarnation we are right now. We cannot postpone the changes. As Brother Shikar was saying before, well, I'll do it in the next incarnation. You know, there is no hurry in that. No, there is an imminency of changing our inner self. And I think that more than changing, well, it's not changing our inner self. I think that it's changing precisely all the vestures that we cover our inner self with, because the purpose of this life is really awaken spiritually, which means really to tear apart all the things that prevent this inner self, which is divine, to go outside, to express itself. To me, this is the thing. So the heavenly garment, as I see it, as I interpret it, is really to take away all the things that don't allow this heavenly garment to shine. I don't know if I am explaining myself, but I think, and this we can only achieve while we are incarnated. For me, the human stage is really the turning point in our evolution. It's this stage in which, by the power of our will, we can revert these what's the word? These nonchalance, these, okay, I will follow easily, but no worries, no effort, no whatever, I will get there. To reverse this into the I will do it, I will speed it up, I will be able to collaborate with the divine plan and not be a burden, not be a barnacle, you know? It's like, no, I want to be active in this evolutionary plan, not a simple dead body going along with the whole thing. Well, I don't know if I met your question here. Dinakaran?
Thank you. Thank you, sister.
Thank you.
I think you explained extremely well, Sister Angels, about the importance of the human incarnation, and it is only in this incarnation that we can choose to accelerate or retard our evolution. And yeah, sorry, you were saying something?
Yeah. I think that more than accelerating is just to awakening, to you know, open our eyes, open our inner senses, our, you know, not cease to be asleep, because generally that's what we have been, we are.
And I couldn't help, but I don't know, it automatically comes when you said to see the imminence of this thought or opening our eyes or awakening. I couldn't help but think of J. Krishnamurti, that he has been talking about this imminence, this revolution all along his life. That absolutely. Although Theosophy gives us the whole plan of evolution and the stages in it, but part of it, what J. Krishnamurti has concentrated is this revolution to have right now. So I would request other delegates also, if they have any queries or any questions, kindly, or if you would like to add some comments or something, please, you are welcome to do it. I see there are many senior theosophists. If they would like to add something to it, kindly unmute yourself. Professor Shinde, yes, yes.
Thank you, Sister Angels. Very nicely explained. And you have, in fact, enlightened, asking the question, evolution or revolution? And as Shikhar Agnihotri quoted the Krishnamurti, yes, we are thinking in that way also. We are using the words evolution, revolution, regeneration. So all these are having their own simultaneous states in consciousness. I think if you correct me, evolution is to form. Form evolves. Human form is evolved in biological evolution. And it is said there is no further evolution in the human form. If at all it is anything is there, then that is revolution in the human consciousness. So revolution, what we understand, I think as you explained very well, it is expansion or unfoldment of consciousness because the form is evolved. So revolution is strange. When it occurs, we don't know, but it occurs suddenly in human consciousness. And form is evolving biologically, and intellect helps in all these processes. So three streams of evolution, what we study in Theosophy, biological, intellectual, and spiritual evolution, all these are simultaneously going on. And as you said rightly, there is revolution within. And when it happens suddenly. And that is what you asked the right question, evolution or revolution. Now we must think on revolution. Thank you, Angels. Very nicely you explained. Very good explanation you have given. Thank you, thank you. And your pronunciation, etc., they are very much, we receive very well. We liked it. And the way in which you explained, it is very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Shindeji. And okay, there is one question, and I think that may be our last question for the.
I would like to add something here.
Yes, please. Yeah.
As I said, we study Theosophy and the teachings of Theosophy as the core thing, but then Krishnamurti comes to say, it's okay, all this information that you get, it's okay, but hey, wake up, because this information, if it's not useful for you to open your eyes and to change here and now, it's useless. So I think that the two together really make the whole thing meaningful.
Absolutely, absolutely, I guess. And this relates to I think this question that you have just said, that what is the biggest obstacle or barrier do you think in this waking up or bringing about this revolution?
The biggest obstacle, you mean, for waking up? I think that we are dormant, not dormant. We are asleep, as I said. So the weight of inertia is so big comfortability and all these things that the form gets stuck to. And it is very heavy, very strong, this immobility, this thing that doesn't allow us to flow and to go forward. So I think that this is something we have to pay attention with our mind, with our heart, with our will, and be aware that we are not those tendencies. Those tendencies are there and they play with us, but we are not those. So we have to discover really who's in charge in here. It's just my tendency, to inertia, immobility, comfortability, not getting, like, okay, don't bother me, I'm fine, I'm well. So this tendency is this the ruler? Or we want something else to be the ruler? So we have to be, first of all, aware of that. Who's in charge? And then once you discover who's in charge, then it's easier, I think. Sorry about that.
No, I agree, I think, with that. And thank you so much for your deep and insightful deliberation, first of all, and I think even more during the question and answers that you have shared with us. It has really been enlightening and inspiring, and to understand the importance of this human incarnation and to use it to the optimum. And I see that since there are no more questions or queries from our delegates, so we would like to proceed with the closing of today's session. And on behalf of Pragya CS Studio, on Catalina's and my behalf, we would like to really extend a heartfelt gratitude, Sister Angels, that you took time and agreed to share your thoughts on this wonderful subject with all of us. And really thanks to you. And we also thank to all our delegates, brothers and sisters, friends from all over the world and all over India who joined us for this session and made this session very lively with the questions and answers. So with this, we come to the closing session of today's talk, and let us once again come together in heart and mind. And okay, I forgot to, before we proceed with the closing prayers, the next Sunday program we have is a special program. It's the 5th Sunday of the month. So instead of having a talk, we are going to have a devotional meeting or devotional gathering. In Hindi, it is called Bhajan Sandhya, in which everybody is invited. Everybody who wants to sing a devotional song can sing in whichever language you want to sing, can sing. And it is on 30th January, Sunday, same 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time, which is 11:30 a.m. GMT. So looking forward to see you all, meet you all next Sunday in the shower of devotional bliss. So that is the next Sunday program. And let us once again proceed to our closing prayer and use all our will and thought power for the welfare of all the beings in the world. Oh, may all become happy. May none fall ill. May all see auspiciousness everywhere. May none ever feel sorrow. Peace, peace, peace. Oh. Thank you once again, everyone, for being with us in today's session. Thank you, angels, and have a great week ahead. Health, happiness, and harmony to you and to your families. And see you next